Dr. Coleman, she's taking roll. We can't hear you. Are you present?
Oh, yes, I am here. I hear you now.
Okay. All right. It's called duplication of effort. Yeah. I have motion to approve the agenda. So moved. It's moved by Dr. Von Elliott, second. Harfield, any questions? I like a roll call vote. Yes. Yes.
Yes. Dr. Coleman.
Yes.
Next on the agenda, we have patient statistics. Okay. Move to item 4 then, agenda, I'm sorry, announcement. Just want to thank everybody, headed out to a school to help, welcome the children back to school. I had the opportunity to work over the math. It was really cute. We had one parent that was crying her eyes out. We had one kindergarten that cried his eyes out, but it still was a perfect day. And the children looked like they were really, really ready to come back to school. I know the parents were. It was just a fun opportunity. Yes.
Today we celebrated the homegoing celebration for and birthday of Dr. Kashina Bell, a beloved educator on today. So I just want to share, if you didn't get a chance to know her or know anything about her educational journey, based on the comments, she was really an excellent educator. So I just wanted to share.
Are there any additional announcements? We'll then go to item 5, which is the superintendent's report. Good evening, everyone. I want to echo Dr. May's sentiments about Dr. Bell. She is truly a loss, and she had just retired. Today, though, we also celebrated the homecoming of Dr. Mary Ann Fielding, known pediatrician throughout the state of Missouri and the country. And so two great women and women of color who have made an impression on multiple people are gone. So here's my other announcements. Yay, we're 2 days in with the start of school. There's been some challenges, I'm sure, but for the most part, it's been a pretty smooth transition as it relates to students. There's a couple of things that are happening this year, though. We reinstated the wearing of uniforms, K-8, and that too has gone smoothly. We want to thank our partners with the Little Bit Foundation, because for any student who doesn't have uniforms, they are supplying 2 uniforms, and that means district-wide. So all the parents have to do is go onto the link, fill out what they want and the name of the school, grade, and they will make sure that it gets there. We also instituted our phone pouch system. Yay. Yes. Yesterday, kicked it off at the high school. Oh, well, there's some challenges, yes, but today was really smooth. And so we believe that as we move forward, it'll get smoother and smoother. We've shared some additional information with our parents, and we realized that our scholars also needed to know some of the stipulations, and that we have a policy that says that, we will not have phones in the classroom. The good part about it that I think was a misconception, people thought we were taking the phones away from students. We're not. They put their phone in the pouch. They keep their pouch with them. It is their pouch. And at the end of the day, they can unlock the pouch. If there's an emergency where they need to see the nurse, every building at the high school has magnets. Every administrator at the high school has magnets. The nurse has magnets. The counselors have magnets. And I think it's important to stress that, because I said that some of the miscommunication out there is that we're taking their bag. Now, I will tell you, if they lose their bag and they don't bring, or they cut it, which has happened, then their phone is locked up the next day. And if locked, they can pick it up at the end of the day. And it was a stark difference between yesterday's discarded, damaged pouches than we had today. Totally stark difference. So we think that as we move forward, it's going to get better. Also, we do want to acknowledge that with the extreme heat that we have been experiencing, our building air conditioners are going up and down, up and down. And so yesterday, all day yesterday, I walked every building, hit every classroom. And so Dr. Singleton and other members of my team were also in building. And as we were walking up on spaces that didn't have air, we were communicating back. We met yesterday with our HVAC consultants and our in-house HVAC, and they are working feverishly. What we learned also yesterday is because of the age of our building, that many of the units, they were built in the time not to have this type of heat. And as you know, this is heat that they said like we've never had before with global warming. And so when our air conditioners are also working at full capacity, sometimes it's not making a significant difference, or they cut off. And so we've reached out actually today to additional firms and companies to come in so we can kind of do a blitz on our buildings. But if you saw the news, particularly this morning on Channel 5, almost every school district is struggling with keeping buildings cool because of this excessive heat. And then, you know, I felt pity for some of those schools that they had on the news that don't have air at all. So I do want the people in the listening audience to know that we're working feverishly. We're putting out a letter on our website, on our social media pages, and we're sending it to parents just to let them know what we're trying to do. And food service has been gracious enough to make sure that all of our buildings have extra cold water. We've not allowed our scholars to go outside. It's just too hot for them to go outside. And so when you think about that as the start of the school, and we're still here and we made it through 2 days, it's gonna be a good year. Not that we won't have some challenges, but it is going to be a good year. And I would be remiss if I did not also thank our teachers and our faculty just for your patience and making sure that our buildings were ready to accept our students. We had a lot of work going on, and so in many sites, they were not ready, but we're gradually working towards all of that as well. And so I'm excited about the direction we're going to go this school year. Central Services is here to support. That concludes my announcement. Okay, the first item, item 6, is the item for information. And this is our 23-24 projected enrollment. Making this presentation is Dr. Tanya Patton, Assistant Superintendent for Student Support Services, and this is in compliance with CSIP collaborative process.
There we go. I know it's not announcement time, but I do want to acknowledge our convocation that we had. Also, I want to thank Ms. Morrill, Reverend Hursley, for being there. It was a great event. We had a dynamic speaker, Dr. Hope, who was just fabulous. And so everywhere I go, there are comments about our convocation. So it was a great event. Now, I'm bringing before you for informational purposes our current enrollment and our projected enrollment. We have a projected enrollment district-wide of 5,376 students. We currently have an enrollment as of today of 3,847 students. We're doing all that we can to get our families enrolled. We've had a number of enrollments registrations at all of our different elementary schools. We will keep posting those. Some students showed up today and yesterday that were not registered, so we worked to get them registered. But currently, we're probably about 1,300 short than our projection, but we will get there soon. Are there any questions?
What is the window that we have before that we will?
That's a great question, Dr. May, and I don't know. But I will find out. I'll find out what the window is. I'm not sure.
For attendance,
Yes,
I believe it's the last Wednesday in September.
last Wednesday in September. Okay, yeah. I didn't know that. I just learned that myself. Thank you. Are there other questions? All right, thank you.
The next item, also for discussion is, the other was information, I'm sorry. It's 23-24 Behavior Discipline Procedure Handbook. Also making this presentation is Dr. Patton. This too is in CSIP Goal Collaborative Cultures. And I do want to reference this very quickly. Once we send our CSIP to the state, which we'll be doing this week, the CSIP indicators will probably change.
So as Dr. Jordan said, this is our discipline and behavior handbook for the 23-24 school year. It's been updated to reflect new staff members. It's also been, the largest update was just to reflect our use of our yonder bags. And so they are being used, as Dr. Jordan stated, at our high school and will be implemented on Tuesday, September the 5th at both middle schools as well. And so we had to have it embedded in our discipline behavior guide. Are there any questions?
I have a question about, what approaches we can possibly utilize for the social anxiety that students have concerning their phones. And then also I wanted to know whether or not the issue was just at middle and high school with phones and not elementary, because I didn't see elementary mentioned in the policy, in the discipline procedures.
Okay, so in reference to your first question, Dr. May, our counselors and social workers have worked diligently to support the students who were having concerns. And some of our students did have social emotional connections, because as you know, this generation, they were born with cell phones. And so there were some students, and they were supported by our counselors, social workers, and restorative staff. And they will continue to be. In reference to the elementary level, typically each principal at the elementary level have a rule in their school that cell phones are turned off and put in the backpacks. There hasn't been as big of an issue at the elementary level with social media, taking pictures and airdropping them. We haven't had the same disruption at the elementary level that we've had at our secondary level. Okay. Are there other questions? Okay, thank you.
The next item also with Dr. Patton is Bold Moves Service Agreement for 23-24. The schools in compliance with collaborative culture. Dr. Patton?
So this MOU is a service agreement between an organization called Bold Moves, who helps to support the social emotional well-being of our students. This organization will come into our middle schools. They will strictly be supporting our middle schools and teaching our students how to engage when there's conflict without ending up in a fight, how to talk, how to agree to disagree. And so we are utilizing our ESSER funds, ESSER 3 funds, to the tune of $35,000 to bring this organization in to help support our middle school students. Are there any questions?
Dr. Patton, you may want to add that we will be reimbursed by special school district. Will be reimbursed by special school district.
Yes, I'm sorry, yes. Special school, while we will pay on the front end, we will send the invoices to special school district and they will reimburse us using the disproportionality funding that they have for Riverview Garden, which is about $450,000.
My question was more so about converting the MOU to a contract.
So it was converted to a contract. We learned that the last time. So now anytime there is money exchanging hands, it won't it will be called a memorandum of services or a contract as opposed to a memorandum of understanding. Okay, other questions?
Yes, the question that I had was, this would be great for the middle school, but does it have a component for parents?
So this one does not, Ms. Morrill, but we will bring forth, there are two other MOUs, contracts that we'll bring forth that will have a parent component to it. And that will also be covered under ESSER funds. However, Karan Bolden, whose organization, yes, he has agreed also to have a parent component. We just haven't worked out the details of that one. But we truly believe that parents are a partner in the social, emotional, mental health, well-being of their students as well. Okay, other questions? All right, thank you.
The next item is policy recommendations. Making this presentation is the Travis Board, Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources and Assistant Compliance for Policy CA, Policy Implementation and Implementation.
Good evening, Special Administrative Board, Dr. Floyd Adams, colleagues and community. I'll bring to you today 3 policies to be recommended for revision. These recommendations were brought to us by the Missouri School Board Association, to reflect new updates that have been happening. So the first policy that we have for revision is policy IL-1, assessment programs. This policy was revised to reflect the state statute and amendments for the reading levels and reading readiness of all students enrolled in grades kindergarten through 3rd grade. The second policy that I bring for you today is policy KL, public concerns and complaints. The revisions are recommended for this policy to be in compliance with the Every Student Succeed Act, which requires that complaints be resolved within 35 days. And the last policy that I bring before you today is policy KLA, concerns and complaints regarding federal programs. MSB created this new policy to address allegations that a district has violated the federal law in a program governed by the Elementary and Secondary Education Act. It is recommended that the Special Administrative Board accept the policies as presented. Are there any questions?
Not a question, but I mean, we just had our Region 7 meeting. This was one of the items that we discussed.
Okay. Thank you.
The next item is a memorandum of agreement with MSBA. As you know, when the board, new board members first came on, shortly after that, we had a conversation about going through some governance training. Initially, we were asked to do those trainings with Normandy. Several people were in attendance for the training that was held in July. We did a survey at the end of that meeting and received information from MSBA. There will be some trainings that they wanted to take with Normandy, and there are some that will be specific to River Gordon. And Normandy will have some that's specific to Normandy, and it's based upon the surveys that were filled out. The budgetary impact would be $150 per hour, plus travel reimbursement at 52 cents per mile. This is in reference to policy BHA, which speaks to board trainings and development. And so it is recommended that the board approve this memorandum of agreement so we can get it back to MSBA with a cost not to exceed $5,000, and we ask approval at the next board meeting. And if you look in your packet, it gives you the topics that will be discussed. They are every other month, and in my conversation with MSBA inquiring as to whether they would do Saturdays or weekdays, they are suggesting we do it on a weekday. And then for 3 hours. And then on a Saturday at the end for a full day.
So therefore, board members, we really need for you to look at your calendars and quickly submit some dates for us. I know for a while now, I've been asking Shay to get dates from everyone. So I'm just admonishing everybody so that we can move forward. If you will submit dates as soon as possible.
It's being held here.
Yes, it
in
will be,
St. Louis,
the
or
meetings for Review Gardens will be here.
so we don't have to.
No.
Okay,
We'll be here. And sometimes we use this building and we've used Central's building. Now, there may be a time when they bring us all together, but if they do, the next time that happens, they will have to come here. So I have a question. So if there's no questions or concerns, may I verbally contact them and tell them that the board will vote on it at the next meeting?
So what exactly are we voting on? Because I
Agreed
thought
to
we
take
agreed to
those
do
6
it.
seconds. Well, we didn't vote, the board talked about it, and we didn't know, this is official. So what we now have is an official agreement document that will have to be signed by the board president and myself, that the entire board is in agreement with going through these trainings.
And when will it start? Is that part of the questions that you're
Yeah.
asking? Because
So-
I just responded that I will make my time available that fits in the most people's time.
Okay, we did change it.
We
The
did?
initial, the initial request was August, October, December, February, April, and then May, June. But when they sent it, it was last week. And we said there was just no way we could pull together a session between now and the end of August. And so they have agreed to September. And so they just want us to know tentative date. But what I want to know right now is, may I contact them tomorrow and tell them that we will be identifying dates to move forward, and the board will vote at the next board meeting. Thank you. Okay, I just thank you. Thanks. There are no questions, I can go on?
Yes.
The next item is the staffing plan adjustment. Bringing forth this plan is Mr. Travis Ford Senior, Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources.
Good evening again, Special Administrative Board, Dr. Floyd Adams, colleagues and community. I bring before you today the staffing plan adjustments. The 2023-24 staffing plan was approved by the SAB on April the 11th, 2023. Since that time, we are recommending changes to the staffing plan to reflect adjustments based on district needs. One of the needs that has been identified is 3 lead DSO officers, district safety officers. The SAB approved that the safety and security team have 36 district safety officer positions for this school year. In order to effectively support and supervise the new amount of district safety officers, I am requesting that 3 of the 36 positions be reclassified as lead district safety officer positions. These positions will be funded out of the general operating budget, and each lead DSO will receive $3 additional per hour at their current step. The second position that I bring before you is a custodian position. I'm requesting that a custodian position be reclassified as a maintenance worker position. The SAB approved staffing allocations for 70 custodians and 8 maintenance workers. Due to additional support being needed in the warehouse, the maintenance department could really benefit from having an additional maintenance worker. This position would just be a reclassification. We'll drop the custodial positions down to 59 and bring the maintenance worker positions up to 9. This position is budget neutral and will be funded out of the general operating budget. It is recommended that Special Administrative Board approve these staffing adjustments as requested and presented. Are there any questions? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We have some custodians who have worked in maintenance before and have transitioned to custodian and back and forth, depending on the level of need with it. This custodian position and the custodian that they have in mind has the skill set to work in the warehouse. This custodian will be specific to supporting the additional needs of the warehouse. But it falls under a maintenance position in order to have that additional allocation in the warehouse. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, they will still happen. Are there any other questions?
Same question. again.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
The next item is the 22-23 annual Secretary of the Board report, otherwise known as the ASBR, making a presentation. Dr. Levon Singleton, this is in compliance with policy BIAA fund balance.
Good evening, Special Administrative Board, Dr. Pruitt Adams, colleagues and community. The first agenda item that I have tonight is the 22-23 Annual Secretary of the Board Report, better known as the ASBR. The ASBR is an annual report that must be submitted to DESE by August 15th of each year. This report contains information such as revenues, expenditures, fund balances, debt, transportation, and various other data components on our school district. We also report on local effort calculations, current expenditures, report card data, etc. Our ASBR report was submitted on time this year. Let me say that. Because in the past, we have had challenges with submitting our ASBR report. And so the finance department is working extremely hard this year to right some wrongs, if you will, that we've experienced in the past. That said, our ASBR report has been submitted on time. The report, the attachments show a very healthy fund balance for the Riverview Gardens School District. The report this year contains a percent fund balance of 45.76%. Remember, the SAB minimum is around 15%. And the one document that I'd like to bring your attention to is the historical fund balances in our school district. If you will click on that second tab, who's ever guiding the presentation. Yes, I'd like to just, if we can, I'd like to bring that to the board's attention. And if we can start at the 2017, 2018 column to the left, and the very last item that says percent fund balance, it says 20.22%. And so if you can look down there and just go across and look at the fund balances that we've had over the last 6 to 7 years, and to see where we are, 20.22% in the 17-18 school year, 16.76% in the 18-19 school year. Then the 19-20 school year, 17.53%. And all of a sudden, in the 2021 school year, we were at 31%, 36%, and now 45%. I would like to brag that I came in the 2021 school year when you see that big jump. So, but that said, very proud that we have been doing some good things for our school district. We've been good stewards because you all have allowed us to be good stewards. And I just wanted to report that our ASBR report has been submitted on time. And I believe the state and the school board should be pleased at this point. So are there any questions?
This Morrow really just happened.
I know you are. I remember a time where that report was not in. And let me tell you some of the consequences of not having that report in, okay? Because the state will hold your funding payments, okay? Once a month or twice a month, we get state aid payments, and they're big payments. That's how we operate from the allocations from the state. And that money, when those reports are not in on time, they hold back those payments until you get those reports in. And so we've had some challenges in the past where, we just have not been able to get those reports in on time. But again, our department is working extremely hard. And I think we're doing the right things at this point.
It's
So,
also on the APR.
yes. Yep. Okay, no other questions? Thank you.
The next item also being brought by Dr. Singleton is this different one.
Is that-
Is the fiscal year 22-23 audit proposal, Daniel Jones and Associates.
All right, good evening again, Special Administrative Board. So the next item we'll talk about is the 22-23 audit proposals. As you all know, the audit is an annual requirement, okay? Each year, our district goes and undergoes a comprehensive audit. And it's a requirement for school districts and other political subdivisions. And we usually have to have an independent auditor, someone who's not affiliated with the school district, to come in and give you an assessment. The Special Administrative Board has also chosen to continue to do an annual audit so that we could measure and evaluate our financial and operational positions and performances. And so we are moving forward in that same vein. We went to a new auditor last year, Daniel Jones and Associates. They have also given us a proposal to maintain us this year. And so the amount of the auditing services right now is estimated at $48,140. And that's estimated at about 370 worker hours, okay? And this is for the audit of everything that happened last year. So the 22-23 fiscal year. It is budgeted in the fiscal year 23-24 budget. And we are recommending that the Special Administrative Board approve the annual audit proposal as presented. Are there any questions for them?
I have one question. Is Daniel Jones an individual or is that just a name? And the reason I ask is when the letter was signed, it was signed, it just Daniel Jones. It
Oh,
wasn't signed.
So it depends on who you ask, because I think Dr. Pruitt Adams, didn't we just hired Daniel Jones?
We have a Daniel Jones, but that's not him.
Right.
We have a Daniel Jones who's an assistant principal at the high school. But this is a company by the name of Daniel Jones, and I don't know if Daniel Jones owns it. But I'm glad you brought up the letter. So I received the letter, the board received the letter, and Dr. Singleton, I'm sorry, also received the letter. And it's just to really gauge where we are with terms of being ethical and if we know of any fraud risks and things like that. We did ask because it's a difficult form to fill out. It seems to get longer every year. And so Ms. Fields sent you what they are looking for, but it is important that we turn it in. Every time there's one not turned in, then they come after Singleton, they come after me, we need this. And so they gave you a postage paid envelope. If you don't want to put it in the mail, if you get it to Demetra and or Shay, we will make sure that Dr. Singleton gets it to give to the company as well, but it is a requirement for all school districts and board members and superintendents and CFOs to fill that out.
So, but to help answer your question, Daniel Jones is a firm. It's probably named after an individual, but this is a CPA firm. So there's a team of individuals that comes in and do the audit for us.
And if you need another form, we could probably scan my form because your name's not on there. I don't
Okay.
think. My form and send it to everyone who needs another form.
Ask you a question to him, guys, that's a good. What was the purpose of it? Yeah. Wanted to know
I
the
can't
detail
hear
why-
you, Ms. Titsworth. Will you ask in the microphone?
Well, what was the purpose of the form?
Yes. So on an annual basis, the administration, if you will, the board, anyone who has governance or responsibility over the fiscal matters of the school district, you're asked a set of questions. And the purpose of those questions is to give you an opportunity to share what you know, okay? Positive or negative about the school district. So those forms ask you, are you aware of any fraud? Okay, it gives you an opportunity to speak out as a board member. It gives you an opportunity to share, in the mission and vision of the school district, et cetera. And so the purpose of those forms is to gather information on the operations of the school district. Because again, the auditors, their job is to give us an opinion on how well we, operate and how effective we are. But to answer your question, those questionnaires are really designed as you telling what you know and how you feel the school district is operating.
When I officially read it, it was almost like, it sounded like it was pitching some kind of criminal activity going on in a school district. And that's why I don't know where my form is.
Oh, okay, you hit it, okay. Well, if there was a time to snitch, you can use the form to snitch. You have permission to snitch on the form. But again, I think we've been running a pretty good operation, it's a time to be truthful though. That's really what it is. If you suspect that something is not going right, if you suspect that maybe you've not been able to get answers and you've been asking questions and things just don't seem right, that's an opportunity for the auditors to start digging deeper. They'll ask more questions, et cetera. And so it is an opportunity for you to share whatever information you would like to share with the outside auditors.
From a financial perspective.
Right.
The other thing, that when they do the audit, it's not just that form, they actually come in and go through all the financial records and everything. And then they do a report where we'll come back to the board with that report. And our goal is to have no findings. We don't want a management letter, because a management letter means that there's something that must be corrected. And so Dr. Singleton knows my goal is to not have any. Last year was, when I first came, I think we had 4.
Yes.
And we went to a new firm and of course they found more. But it was good that they did that so that we knew what was truly wrong so we could clean it up. And so while we may have 1, which I hope we have none, our goal is to ultimately have no management letter.
We're gonna surprise you this year. I hope we'll get down to none. That's our goal. All right, no other questions? Okay, thank you.
Then your next item is the summary of funds balance for the month ending July 31st.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Pruitt-Adams. All right. So here we are, our report I give you every month. Remember, this report is ending July 31st. So it's only 1 month of activity. Our new fiscal year started July 1st. And so I'm only reporting the first month of the new fiscal year. All right. So if we go to the second page of this report, if we look at those fund balances, the first column shows you $33,424,205. That's where we started the fiscal year off. Okay. Those numbers tie back to the ASBR. It's just things are just really working in our favors. If we look at our year-to-date revenue, again, we're talking about 1 month. What revenues were we able to capture? So we've got about $4.4 million. We spent about $5 million. The summer months are generally slow. We usually are getting grant reimbursements, things of that nature. So that's where kind of the monies are coming from. But certainly as the school year starts and pick up, we start to see the bigger payments start to come into the district. So an ending fund balance right now of about $32.4 million is really good for where we are this time of year. The next page, and the note there, it just talks about when we approved the budget, we always approved a fund balance transfer not to exceed a certain amount. Remember, when we put the budget together, we really don't know how we're going to end the year. So we really just try to put together a real educated picture of how the year will look. And so we're saying that at the end of this year, the board will allow us to transfer about $1.5 million to cover those capital projects that we may have to endure. Certainly as we exceed, or if we exceed that $1.5 million, we'll be right back to the board asking them for an additional transfer or so, okay? We didn't have to do that this year because our revenues that came in took care of those capital project needs. On the next page deals with the grant expenditures. Again, this is nothing new to the board. We look at the budgets, the revised budgets. I always like to look at the actual columns. So $1.7 million that we've taken in on the expenditures. If we flip the page, look at the revenue, just about $222,000. And again, our summer months are always slow. We try to bring in as much money by June 30th as we can. You know why? Because we want our fund balance to look good as of June 30th. And so that's why when we go to the new fiscal year in July, we start collecting money as the year really goes along. The next page talks about the revenues. Again, we break them out by fund. We got a general fund. It has a specific purpose. You can only do certain things with the general fund. Teachers fund, only pay teacher salaries and benefits, okay? Debt service, only pay your bonds and outstanding debt obligations. Capital projects, only pay for capital expenditures, food services, etc. So that information is there for you as well. The expenditures on the next page, again, capture the same kind of activities, okay, by fund. And so we're looking at about $5.4 million. We've got $7.4 million encumbered, which means we've got some pending obligations out there as well. And then the final two pages always tell a story of where we are this time over the last few fiscal years. And so if we look at 21, 22, and 23, on the top line, the general fund, where were we in 21? $1.3 million in revenue. In 22, $3.3 million. In 23, $1.8 million. And so we see that we've been pretty consistent again. And so at the bottom, it shows that $7 million, well, the $3.5 million in 21, $7 million in 22, and then 23, right at about $4.4 million. On the expenditure side, same thing. If we just want to look at the very bottom, in 21, $3.5 million, 22, $4.9 million, and 23, $5.4 million. I will say, I think the district is in a pretty good situation financially. Are there any questions for me at this time?
Yes. I was just curious to whether or not you've heard anything about property taxes. I know it was probably a lot of appeals, and I thought St. Louis County did something as well. But
So that's coming up soon. In fact, I've got a meeting with our bond consultants, if you will. We've got a meeting scheduled next week because next month we're going to be bringing to the SAB the rate adoptions, the tax rate adoptions. Every year we have to adopt rates that go on your tax bills, and that has to be in September. So when the tax bills go out in December, we have our information filed. I haven't heard a lot, Dr. Von Elliott, about the appeals, but certainly they will have an impact on what we collect. So people who appeal their taxes, they're too high, blah, blah, blah. You know, that certainly means less taxes for the school district. And so we'll try to dig into that a little bit more.
We just recently, they even received something from Air Plus. Just about talking points. I haven't had a chance to go all the way through it yet, but I will send it to you and then I'll share it with the board. But I think the St. Louis County Council, the first time they didn't vote, then they're considering doing something, but I don't think they know just what, because they want to save monies for the 65 and over,
Yes.
but still don't want to have a negative impact on school system. So I will finish reading those talking points and make sure that everyone gets them.
one other question, had you been following whether or not the legislation plans on trying to overturn the veto of the governor with the 13 billion?
Yeah, you know, I was a little disappointed and I've been a little disconnected with that. I do know that the legislation, the legislators we were trying to overturn or get them to overturn that veto. I really have lost contact with that. So I don't think it's been successful. We haven't heard anything, but do you know if that date is up? Do you know if that, because I forgot there was a certain deadline, and I'll get that information. Let me look into that this week and just kind of send a response out as to the status of that.
Okay, thank you.
No other questions? Thank you.
The next item is gifted education NNAT 3 assessment screener. Making this presentation is Dr. Tiffany Hunter, our science coordinator, and this is in compliance with CSIP Gold College and Career Readiness, CCR. Is your mic on?
Like it when he. Ow.
Broken. Now it sounds like it's on.
Thank you. All right, we'll try that again. Good evening.
Might be even better.
Then it came back on again. Maybe you just have to talk really loud.
Good evening, Special Education Board, Dr. Gay, colleagues and community. The following item. Question on behalf of our guest. First off, I would like to tell you that in that 3 is Naglieri, thank you. Naglieri nonverbal ability test. And so the hope is to use this assessment as a screener to screen all 3rd graders. So currently, to build our talent pool for gifted education, we analyze achievement scores like the STAR test, MAP data, and we pull students who are advanced. And then they create the talent pool, and then our gifted specialists go in and we test those students to see if they actually can be a part of our gifted education program. So research has shown that using just achievement tests is not equitable. And so this assessment, the Naglieri Nonverbal Ability Test, also known as the NNAT 3, addresses those equity issues so that students such as ELL students, students with special needs, or even students from low socioeconomic areas can have a chance to receive gifted education. So I am proposing that we purchase this online version of the NNAT 3 as a screener for all 3rd graders, and it's to increase our talent pool for gifted education. After they take the screener, if they qualify, they will then go through the stages with our gifted specialists, and they go through a series of assessments to see if they actually qualify. So just a little background on the NNAT 3, it is a nonverbal assessment. And so that kind of benefits our ELL students who might have linguistic challenges, even special needs students, and then also students who are from lower socioeconomic areas. And so oftentimes there's a misconception with gifted students that if you have straight A's and you sit at the seat and you quiet, that you're automatically gifted, and research has shown that that is not really the case. And so this assessment is to really help us identify students who may not regularly qualify for gifted education. So the addition of this assessment will help Riverview Gardens be in compliance with MSIP 6. There is an equity component that is a part of that, and it discussed how we will address equity gaps. And so this assessment will serve as a purpose as to how we plan to address these equity gaps in our district for a response to intervention. And so at this time, are there any questions?
Yes. Question. So you said that it will support ELL. Is it translated for
So-
them or?
It's a great question. Thank you for asking. It's not verbal. And so it's more like a problem solving type piece. There's no like words or anything. They're mostly like puzzles that students have to kind of manipulate, and then it's automatically scored. Any other questions?
How many children are taking advantage of gifted time? do
I'm
you know?
glad you asked.
Okay.
At this time, we have 84 projected gifted students, which is an increase. Last year, we had 74 gifted students, and right now we have about 30 students who are awaiting testing. Any other questions? Nope. All right, thank you, guys.
Thank you. The next item is the LLI observation and feedback. Making this presentation is Dr. Tiffany Patton, and this is in compliance with CSIP's instruction and policy GCL, professional staff development, GCLAP, professional staff development opportunities. Dr. Patton.
Good evening, Special Administrative Board, Dr. Pruitt Adams, colleagues and community members. The item that is before you is for professional learning services for district instructional coaches. It's geared towards learning a teacher coaching model that supports a trajectory of growth for first year and novice teachers, so new teachers. This approach to coaching is designed to assist with micro coaching, which will allow teachers to see growth in their practice on a week-to-week basis as a result of their work with instructional coaches. Given the percentage of long-term substitute teachers that we do have in our district who are filling vacancies that would normally be filled by certified university-trained teachers, it is a necessity to be able to broaden our approach to how we coach teachers. So this particular workshop and this particular coaching plan is planned to be delivered on September 14th and will not exceed a cost of $16,250. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have at this time.
Have you vetted them against any other companies, any additional quotes on similar services, or what they're providing is pretty much?
They are a single source provider. They are pretty well recognized. They have a Leverage Leadership Institute that is attended nationally by leaders from across the country. Their coaching model has been in Leverage Leadership 1.0 and 2.0 for the past 10 years. I also have attended the National Principal Fellowship where they train leaders across the country on this model and have used it in my personal practice since 2015. It is highly effective.
How much time will be needed, like during the daytime, for instructional coaches to receive this training?
This is a full day training, so it's a 6-hour, 8:30 to 3:30. And
Just one
the
time?
ongoing training pieces I will manage.
Okay.
Hey, Ms. Lang.
Superintendent, I question, and I'm still having communication challenges.
Okay,
Did you guys respond? Cause I
I
can't.
did.
Okay, so I just gotta find.
So the question that Ms. Lane asked was, what was the difference between the solution tree item, I believe, and this one? And so in the response, I said that the item that's coming up next for solution tree is for Michelle Obama Early Childhood Center, because right now they're not a part of the turnaround in the priority process. And so this is an opportunity for them to also learn, and the book that they will be studying. And then this LLI is professional development for the instructional coaches. That makes them better equipped to coach and work with teachers and our long-term substitutes.
Madam President,
Yes.
on that note, how will the mentors be grouped into a similar training, because they have to mentor, do some of the similar things that the instructional coach might have to do, or no, will it be different?
Theirs is significantly different. It's not as
Okay.
intensive. Instructional coaches are fully dedicated to coaching all day, whereas mentors are certified full-time teachers who work with their mentees throughout the day, but it's not as consistent as an instructional coach because they do still have to teach classrooms.
Will they train similar, like with cognitive coaching or some other type of training, the mentors?
The mentors have a schedule of like observations that they do with the mentees that are supported by the Professional Development Office. However, they're not coaches. They're giving feedback, but they're not necessarily coaching to the extent that instructional coaches are. However, if we start with the coaches and we lay a solid foundation, we can always pair the coaches with the mentors in the building and have them support with also learning that model and implementing it.
Okay.
Any other questions?
The next item is the collaborative teams with Solution Tree. And making this presentation is Dr. Amita Williams, Director of the Michelle Obama Early Childhood Center.
Good evening, Special Administrative Board, Dr. Pruitt Adams, community members and colleagues.
The item before you is for professional development surrounding collaborative teams with Solution Tree for the teachers at Michelle Obama Early Childhood Academic Center. The teams process will be provided with best practices for establishing a guaranteed and viable curriculum, engaging in collective inquiry and job-embedded professional development, and planning high-quality instruction for our scholars. Therefore, the Riverview Garden School District is already working with Solution Tree, and we would like to be aligned with that process. So starting with our teachers at the Early Childhood Center, that will help us to do that. This will be hands-on. It would be 5 days of learning, 1 full day, and 4 coaching days during their collaborative team meetings on Wednesdays. The budget amount is $33,000, 500, and it is budgeted. Also, the contract has been reviewed by legal counsel for Riverview Garden School District. And my recommendation is that the SAB approve the 5 days of contract for service for the collaborative teams at Michelle Obama, and the dates will be confirmed with the presenter for the 23-24 school year. Do you have any questions? It's 5 days, yes. So the one day, yes, ma'am. Solution Tree, that's their price. So
Our team,
it's for the entire team. We have 12 teachers and we have 12 assistants as well. So they'll be working through the process.
For a good person.
Any more questions? Thank you.
and the last discussion item is continuous discipline by loving guidance.
Okay, so this item before you, good evening, Special Administrative Board and Dr. Pruitt-Adams, community and colleagues. This is also a professional development opportunity for our teachers to learn conscious discipline by loving guidance. The author is Dr. Becky Bailey. I forgot to add that in here, but conscious discipline is a comprehensive SEL program. We used to use it some years ago, and now we have more teachers that need to be trained, and we would like to revamp this process. It empowers the adult first to consciously respond to conflict using composure, and then it teaches the scholars how to use the 7 skills. So if you see on here, it teaches them self-regulation skills. It also teaches them how to have calming sensors in their room. It's an alternative to using time out. We do not use that at our center. We use redirection, and we use a place where they can be safe and they can learn skills on how to be redirected and to enjoy each other in the community and build connections with the teachers. And it also has a family component, which is very exciting, which was new to this. And so I'm excited that the parents will also be able to have information and use these skills at home. The projected amount is $5,070 for this professional development. And my recommendation is that the SAB approves the professional development for the 23-24 school year, and the date will be forthcoming with the presenter. Any question? Yes.
Are the parents, how will you make sure the parents are engaged?
So after we're trained, they will have a home connection piece. And so it'll be through newsletters and through an online system. And they will be able to have these, we will make sure that they have the components. So there are different components like breathing techniques and things like that. So we will make sure that they have those at home so they can work on those skills as well. Breathing techniques, yes. So the breathing techniques, ma'am.
They get up.
Yes, so the breathing techniques include a STAR, which means to stop, take a deep breath and relax. There's a pretzel, which also crosses the left and the right brain, because all of this is brain and research based. So when you cross the midline, you're connecting other brain sensory skills. And so they're learning how to do pretzels, and then it's a drain where they learn how to squeeze and release their stressors that are in their body. And then the other one is a balloon where they learn how to breathe in their nose and out of their mouth. And so breathing and exhaling. $5,000 and $5,070.
You all are more than welcome to come to the professional development so you can see it.
Breathe and relax,
Mm-hmm. Yes,
you know,
it is.
other ways to alleviate.
Mm-hmm. They're also going to teach them about calming and feeling buddies and things like that. So the first premise is that you learn about the brain and the states that the brain are in when you are upset. So you have the frontal lobe and all the different parts. They're going to go deep into like brain research and how SEL is connected to learning.
President, I have a question. Within a school day, children engage with more than just their teachers. How will the other staff they may encounter, the security, the front office, learn some strategies to how to more effectively engage with children as well?
I would like for them to attend the training as well. So I will speak with the director of security to see if that person is available for that day of the training. And the office staff as well, because those are skills we can all use.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes our items for discussion.
Thank you. We will now move to item 8 and 9, approval. Oh, I'm sorry.
Questions not related. Discussion. But it is respect to, future vacant. I don't know who. Like to know where we.
I would respect that since it's not on the agenda, did not come prepared. So if we could have the opportunity to pull that information together to you tomorrow. We are going to put in the end of week notes and update on our international teachers as well. But we can get that to you tomorrow.
Why haven't national?
There was some issues with their getting their visas, the timeline process. They are now here. It's just they had to, once they got here, they had to get their social security cards, they had to get their appointments set up. So they actually come here tomorrow, is it?
Some will come into, some have arrived in St. Louis. Some have arrived in St. Louis. They arrived today. I believe we had 7 that arrived today. We'll have some more that will arrive tomorrow. By the end of day tomorrow, because some come in the morning and some come in the evening, we should have 20 by, today is Tuesday. By Thursday, we should have 26. I mean, we should have 22 here. Those 22 still have to get bank accounts. They have to go to the Social Security office, get information. They have to try to, there are, I believe, 5 of them that, and we'll include all of this in the end of week notes, that have to actually go and apply in person at one of the apartment complexes that they're looking at. So they have to do all of that. We will actually have them here in the district on Monday morning to start professional development with them. We'll do, and we have planned the tentative professional development throughout that week to start doing with them.
And
so that
all
they'll
of
be
that
ready.
will be in the report on Friday.
Housing members
No,
depending on,
they get their own housing, they get their own transportation back and forth to work. They do all of that. So,
reason why I asked. For body work. It's state. That's as a nurse.
right, that was not part of what this company offers. And so what they offered was, we went through the interview process. They will be our employees, but the company helps them, and they don't even pay it. They help them to get here. They help them to go through visa process. They help them find the apartments, get up bank accounts, social security. They help with all of that. They show them how to use Lyfts and Ubers and things to get back and forth, but these are all certified teachers. And that is the agreement that the company has made with them. So the only thing we're responsible for is we're gonna give them professional development, we're gonna onboard them. Get ready, make sure they have a mentor as well. And make sure that we train them on our curriculum and all of those things. And just the culture of being in America. That's what we will do, and then we'll pay them. But everything else they do with the company.
Along those lines, so they have already done what they needed to with whatever, DESI
Yes,
certifications.
they have to get all of that and then go through DESI certification.
The ones that we have been working with, yes, the 26 that we have been working with are coming to Riverview Garden specific.
Like to get a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So move.
Dr. Yvonne Elliott, may I have a second? By Ms. Lane, are there any questions? May I have a roll call vote, please?
Yes.
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 No further business to discuss. May I have motion to adjourn?
So move.
Aye. Dr. Yvonne Elliott, may I have a second? Second by Mr. Hartsley. Any questions? Roll call vote?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Motion to adjourn has been, you're adjourned.